it's the 18th of May 2023. Beautiful, warm and sunny day. True wind is probably about 10-12 knots. Beautiful from the southeast though. So from Marchwood, which is where we were left this morning, over to Cowes. It's been a beat down Southampton Water, but regardless, it was a really nice sail. Time now is just 1:30, and we're heading across to Cowes, see if we can get a berth over there for maybe a couple of nights, we'll see. And we've literally just exited Southampton Water, so cow shop just off our starboard beam. You probably can't see it, but just off the bow is Cowshot Spit, which is what we're heading for effectively, so that we can skirt around the big shingle spit that sits in here. We're making so far so good. Hopefully be able to lay that without having to tack. And then looking down Eastern Solent, you might just be able to see some race boats out there, black sails. And beyond them you've got the spire at Ryde, which is always very easy to see. And then beyond that there on the headland is Bembridge, which is where we were a few days ago, which is very nice. And then over there Spinnaker Tower, Pompey, Gill Kicker. And then as we go down to Leeward, we've got Western Solent, and we can't quite see down the Yarmouth at the moment, it's hidden by Leith. And we've got this beautiful Halberg Rassie, 40 foot, with self-steering gear. Looks like he's got some top-down furling cruise and shoot all ready to deploy. Maybe he's going to head off down Western Solent in a bit. He'll get round maybe Cowshot Spit there, and then pop that cruise and shoot and head down west on what's left of an ebb tide. So yeah, perfect planning. Beautiful boat, centre cockpit, very, very nice. And then behind us, Southampton Water, Fawley Terminal, Fawley Refinery, and Marchwood in the very, very distance, which is where we've come from. So Dot's been helming, and it's been an ideal opportunity just because it's fairly quiet midweek out in the Solent. Good opportunity just to have a little play sailing upwind. She sails upwind really well anyway, Dot, but we've just been fine-tuning use of the tailtails. Because it's southeasterly, the wind's blowing effectively from sort of Bembridge directly up Southampton Water. Actually, it's been pretty constant in terms of strength and direction, so it's been a very pleasurable sail. But from any other direction, the wind, certainly in terms of strength and direction, varies all the time, which is why it's very important, particularly when we're racing, which I was last night, that we use the tailtails just to keep sailing efficiently, and then understand when we've been headed and lifted, etc, etc. But we were just commenting, this boat, Sundream 28, flattish seas, 13 knots apparent, full sail plan, does sail very, very well. And we're overhauling this 40 footer at the moment. There was another Bavaria, a couple of Bavarias behind us, another Halberg Rassie, and she certainly holds her own. She sails very, very nicely. Don't get me wrong, a bit more wind and a lumpy sea, that thing's gonna leave us behind, but certainly in these conditions she sails really well. So we've just spotted there, we've got Isle of Wight ferry coming out. Generally speaking, when one's coming out from Southampton, there's probably another one departing Cowes. Midweek I'm not so sure, certainly weekends that would be the case. It may well be middle of the day, midweek, it's just the one ferry running backwards and forwards, but we'll keep an eye. Normally if I see one coming out from Southampton, I'll often anticipate there's one coming out from Cowes. They obviously cross in the Solent, so that the terminals in Cowes, East Cowes and Town Quay and Southampton are clear. Clearly, they don't want to turn up and there's one already on the dock, so they tend to cross in the Solent. So we'll keep an eye on that. I think by the time he catches us up, because he'll be doing about probably 14-15 knots, we would have been probably, with a bit of ebb tide, swept down to the vicinity of Cowshot Spit, I would think. So he's going to probably pass astern of us, and then he doesn't necessarily need to do the Thorn Channel. I think he'll just go straight across West Knoll and straight across. So I anticipate we shouldn't have too many issues. If needs be, we can always just crack off a little bit and just make sure we end up down by Cowshot Spit, and then by that time I think he'll be through us. But beautiful, beautiful spring day, I suppose you'd still call it, here in the Solent, and being midweek, not that many boats in comparison to, say, a weekend. Yeah, beautiful. And we're in shorts and t-shirts. It's warm, winds from the southeast. Wind next couple of days, it's going to be light and variable, I think. High pressure is settling in, so we'll have some sort of lowish winds, sort of settled weather. Forecast is cloud, rain, but as we often find, as that develops this afternoon, I anticipate that will develop over the mainland, which is starting to bubble up some cloud. But invariably, with its microclimate, the island is often quite sunny. So that's what we're hoping for the next couple of days, that the island will be nice blue skies, nice and warm, and if there's any cloud and rain, that's going to be on the mainland. We shall see. But if we come into Cowes, we'll yeah, in fact I can see a ferry coming out now. You probably can't see it on the GoPro, but there is a car ferry coming out from the Medina as anticipated, so they will cross. So we're going to just bear away a little bit and just make it easy for them and hug Cowshot. So we're just sort of approaching central Solent now. Just thought I'd show you a couple of interesting marks. So this little yellow mark here is West Knoll, which sits to the west, as its name implies, of the Bramble Bank, and just out here is the Bramble Bank post. So that post sits on the Bramble Bank, and that's a shallow bank right in the central Solent. Every year people end up on it and need towing off, etc, etc. Low water springs, Equinox Springs, I think it's the Hamble and Lymington, I think it is, yacht clubs go and play a game of cricket on it because it's exposed. But anyway, West Knoll, which is this little yellow mark here, is quite an important mark for me anyway, because if you're to the west of West Knoll, when you're transiting from the south to the north, i.e. from going back from the island back to the mainland, or from mainland north to south onto the island, if you stay to the west of West Knoll, it keeps you clear of the Bramble Bank, so it's quite an important little landmark there. As we're sailing across, the wind's died. At the moment we're head to wind, so we've probably just had a bit of a header. But the wind's eased right off, so we're down to 7 knots apparent. Forecast was for it to go very light and very variable, so I think a combination of things. I think it is going light as forecast, but I think also now we're well into the lee of the island as well. Whereas previously, when we were sailing down Southampton water, really there wasn't much between us and Bembridge really, and from where the gradient wind was coming from. But now we are very much in the lee of the island, so I think a combination of things really. The other thing we've got is we've got a strong ebb tide which is taking us basically to the west, so if you like, that's taking us away from where the wind's coming from, so I'd imagine that's probably knocked maybe a knot or two off the apparent wind as well. So oh no, it's just all over the place, isn't it? Yeah, so Dot's trying to steer basically the boat to windward. I don't know whether we're just in a transition of something here, but it's gone very, very light and variable. You should be able to come right up on that now, looking at your Windex, but then it's gone and hit it again. Yeah, okay. I think we're in probably a transition of something. The wind seems to have now swung to the west, So this tack, yeah, so it would have been nice to sort of film the whole lot of that, but what we've just encountered there is just a transition. So we went from a southeasterly to, I'm guessing, probably what is now filling in is probably a southerly, which is coming directly off the island. Well, maybe there's a bit of west in it, so yeah, maybe sort of south-southwest maybe. But it was just really weird that one minute we're sailing along in a southeasterly port tack, that eases off, and then all of a sudden it just wind switches. Quite incredible really. Right, so I've got to do a little bit of trim here. I've got to get this plane up the track. That's looking a bit better. Now actually that's filling back in, look. So we're up to 13 knots now, and wind is, yeah, southwest I would say. So that's Western Solent, Yarmouth right down there on the point. Now, so this is nice. So we've got southwesterly. The tide is ebbing, so actually we want to crack off. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Dot. So and actually head off, crack off, and actually to the east of Cowes Entrance. So let's bear away. So I'll ease the main. Let's get down here. We'll crack off this head sail. Let's get rid of the winch handle. Right, let's crack the main. So if you want to bear away, so I'm going to ease to the telltales. See, the red telltales are now horizontal. That's about right. Let's turn our attention to the main, which is probably oversheeted now. Yeah, so the top telltales are not flying. So let's ease him away. Get those top telltales flying. There we go. Good. So mouth of the Cowes, the Medina there is over here. As we get closer, I'll film the Royal Yacht Squadron and bits and pieces. We can see the marquees in their garden. But there's a strong ebb tide. I think high water Pompey was about 11:40. So when it's high water down here in the Solent midday-ish, that's a ready reckoner that you're on spring tide, so strong tides. So we'll have a lot of tide sweeping us down to the west. So we're going to counter that by cracking off. Now the wind's gone to the switch to the southwest, we're going to crack off, and we're on probably what now, like a beam reach, and we're going to sail here on the basis that the tide is going to sweep us to the west. So hopefully we'll just now ferry glide in to the Medina, as long as this wind stays, because it's gone from 13 knots apparent to 5, so that's now easing off again. So we'll see what the wind does. Well, that's the Halberg. You may see him in the background there, Halberg Rassi, the 40-footer, beautiful boat. He's just borne away, and he's just unfurling his cruising chute. So the head sail's gone away, and the cruising chute's coming out. It looks like he's heading to the east. He's going to punch a bit of tide though going down there. We're still, so the wind was southeast all the way down Southampton Water, and then all of a sudden we had this transition. It just lightened off, and then all of a sudden, boom, went from southeast to southwest, and now the wind's from the west. So if we look up at the telltale up there, it's basically pointing directly down to the Western Solent. So yeah, it's gone from southeast to southwest to west in the space of about maybe 10-15 minutes, something like that. But that's fine. So we're basically on a broad reach now. Wind's effectively coming over the starboard quarter there. So we're on a broad reach. It's probably fairly slow, yeah, so 3 and a bit knots over the ground, simply because of we're basically facing slightly into the tide. So that's just going to slow us down a bit. If we aim directly for the mouth of the Medina, we would be undoubtedly going a bit quicker over the ground, but we would also be getting swept to the west. So we're just ferry gliding in. No commercial traffic about at all. So we're looking down there, we see the forts in the distance there, forts, nothing coming up the Solent from the sort of the NAB area. Very rarely get anything commercial coming down the Western Solent. Sometimes little coasters and things, but not that often. And then if we look astern, we've got the sheds at Calshot, and we can just see one of the fast jets, so one of the passenger ferries that comes out of Town Quay, Southampton, and goes to West Cowes. It's one of these little fast red jets. It's just coming out there. He'll be here pretty quick, and generally speaking they're very manoeuvrable, and we don't have to worry about those particularly. So yeah, well, we're just doing 2.5 knots now. So pretty slow, but we're in no rush. We're just ferry gliding across into the mouth of the Medina. We should have Prince Consort Cardinal here somewhere. He's under the bow there. Yeah, that's quite a feature, Prince Consort. If we get near to any buoys, we'll be able to physically see the tide running, but it's probably running 2+ knots to the west, I suspect. I'll do a bit more filming when we get further in, but beautiful green area down there out to what is known as Egypt Point. Some beautiful properties there, stunning views, and good swimming beach as well. In the right conditions, it shelves off very steeply. A couple of steps and you're in good deep water. Royal Yacht Squadron with a marquee. I'll do some more filming when we get a bit closer. And then obviously the River Medina going up into Cowes. Was it a couple of weeks ago, 10 days ago, something like that? We were in East Cowes Marina, which was very nice. More recently, let me just turn this down. More recently we're down in Brembridge, which was beautiful, but a bit tricky getting in and out. It's the old channel snakes a bit, and there's a sandbar there. Not so issues here in the Medina. There's a small vessel channel which you can enter from the east, which takes you in, but we'll probably just ferry glide down and go in the main entrance, which is down here in. And if there's room, we will look to berth probably in Shepherd's Marina, which is on the western side of the Medina, and that gives you foot access straight into West Cowes. You don't have to mess around with the chain ferry or anything like that. East Cowes is lovely, but West Cowes is nice as well, so we'll give that a go, I think, today. Motorboat coming towards us, we're sailing, he's motoring, so we're stand on vessel. So we'll carry on doing what we're doing. We're not moving particularly quickly anyway, but we are ferry gliding nicely in at the moment, which is good. So there's Prince Consort, which is obviously just off of Cowes. Headland there is Norris Castle. I don't think we can see the castle. There's a castle at the top there, and just beyond that headland is Osborne Bay, which is a very popular anchorage. We've got a motorboat motoring directly across the bow. Hopefully there's not too much wash from it. It's a pity you couldn't have just turned and gone astern of us, but there we go. So there we go. There's the wash coming in. Yeah, Osborne Bay, really nice anchorage, and you obviously get views up towards Osborne House as well, which was Queen Victoria's summer, coastal residence, I'm guessing. Breeze is picking up a little bit now, so speed's up to 3.7 knots. We can put a transit now, so we can put a yellow buoy, which is a ship's mooring buoy, against something in the background, and that will give us an indication of whether we're going west or east. And at the moment we're holding station, so I think we can come up, we can afford to sail up slightly higher now, so we can point up a little bit higher, which means we'll have to trim on a little bit. Like so. In the interim, the red jet has called up. He's doing probably 20+ knots, so he'll be well in to the river by the time we get down to the entrance there. Yeah, happy with that sail trim. Wind's just picked up a little bit, so yeah, 3.8 knots, that's fine. We'll just sail in. You can see here that the tide's doing funny things. I don't know if you can see it on the GoPro, but generally speaking, Prince Consort gets really, that's where the tide really rips. because you've got effectively like a venturi. So you've got the eastern Solent, which is very wide, and then you've got the Isle of Wight, which is like a big diamond, if you can imagine a diamond, with Bembridge at one end, and then the other point of the diamond, which is the northern point, which is basically Cowes. And you can see here, this is effectively the point. Obviously it goes into the river, and then the western Solent opens out again through there. So you've got this venturi effect with an ebb tide of all that water moving down and then getting squashed by the island and the mainland. And you can see the tide in here. Don't know if you can see it on that ship's mooring buoy there, but it's absolutely ripping on the ebb. So you can see the tide running just in here. So yeah, we're getting swept certainly to the west. Red Jet's had to slow down. Looks like there's quite a bit going on here in terms of pleasure vessels. So he's just slowed down until he's happy, he knows where he's going. You can see the transit with the yellow mark with the land in the background. You can see the Union Jack in the background on one of the factories, and you can see the transit there. You can see that we are getting swept, which is what we want, because that's the entrance there to the Medina. So I'm happy with that. We're getting swept nicely down. Now we could sail into the river, but it's quite busy. We can see we've got Red Jet going in. We know that we had a car ferry, you can see it back there, so he'll be departing at some point. It's quite busy in there, so I think what we'll probably do now is we'll furl the head sail, put the engine on, probably get rid of the mainsail as well, and then we'll just motor into the Medina. Then, you know, if we need to maneuver, we can. Beautiful day, a beautiful place. We lost the, failed the head sail. We've dropped the mainsail. We're just entering the Medina now at Cowes. Royal Yacht Squadron. You can actually just about see all the cannons on the foreshore there, which they use to start the races. That is the Royal Yacht Squadron clubhouse, and then they've got a lovely little area there, green, with some marquees and bits and pieces. This is their own private little marina here. This is, I think, Trinity Quay, which is like a public pick-up drop-off. Not allowed a berth there, but you can pick up, drop off here, and that's public. And then you've got obviously the walk ashore there as well, directly into West Cowes. I think that's the Royal Thames Yacht Club there, the building there with the transits for obviously their race starts as well. That's their building, their clubhouse here in Cowes. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. It's a lovely, lovely place. You can see their marina in there, the Royal Yacht Squadron. You can see their standard flying, which is very like the Royal Navy white ensign there. Good, so we know tide's away. So in the river itself, we know that the water will be flowing effectively downstream, which is good. So when we get allocated a space to berth, we will know to take that into account, that the tide is effectively coming out of the river. There's the globe through there. You can see the various different sunshades and bits and pieces. Years ago, it used to be I think it was an Indian restaurant, but it's just recently been converted back into a pub. And I've been told by somebody that lives on the island that the roof terrace is really nice, good food, lovely, lovely spot. So we'll see, we might pay that a visit. Island Sailing Club, really, really vibrant, busy sailing club. It's heavily involved in organising Cowes Week, round the island race, etc. Really nice clubhouse there as well. So Fast Jet's obviously come in, he's going on to the berth, so we don't really have to worry about him. We'll keep an eye on the passenger ferry, sorry, the car ferry, because he's been in a little while now. He may well come out. But yeah, you can see some people up there on the globe, on the roof terrace. Fantastic, beautiful spot. And then over to East Cowes. Last time we were in East Cowes, we walked all the way down, all the way to the point there. Very quiet, very nice. And then back in the distance there is Southampton Water. obviously down there you can see the oil refinery, but effectively that sits, believe it or not, in amongst the New Forest. So all over here is all the New Forest. Portsmouth. Red Jet's alongside now. Right, I better put this down. Marinas here all operate on channel 80, VHF channel 80, so I'm on 12 at the moment. In the river it's I think 69 or 68, one of the two, which is equivalent to VTS, but for the Medina, obviously a lot quieter here, so I haven't switched, I'm still on 12. I'll switch across to 80 now, and then we'll call up and see where we can get some space. Okay, well it's just gone, it's coming up to 3:30. And we've made it across to Cowes. We tried to get into Shepherd's Marina, but they weren't answering the phone and they weren't answering the VHF to the point where I was beginning to wonder whether actually both my main set and my handheld VHF were US. But anyway, we frequently come up to East Cowes, and we came up a bit further and called them up, and they straight on the radio, and they've managed to put us on a berth holders spot, which is closer up towards the Marina building, which is up here on Hammerhead G1. So we'll probably get a bit of traffic in the river, you know, as people come up and down. They're going to create a little bit of wash and bits and pieces, but we can live with that. And there's the East Cowes Marina there, and there's the Lifeboat pub, which is very, very pleasant. And we got quite a short walk to the toilet block and the pub and bits and pieces. It's the River Medina up to Newport, which is the capital of the Isle of Wight. If you carry on up the river some distance, I'd say we're on East Cowes, and the mouth of the river is down here, and you can just about see the Red Funnel car ferry at East Cowes Terminal. UKSA. Lots and lots of kids go there and do all sorts of water activities. It's always really, really busy, and you can see loads of kids over on the slip messing around with dinghies and sups and bits and pieces. So yeah, lovely scene. We've got a beautiful aluminium boat astern of us here. Looks like the sort of thing you could probably take up to the Arctic, the Northwest Passage, etc. And they've managed to sneak us in here because it's ordinarily the resident is a 27-foot something. I suspect probably a motorboat, but it's certainly plenty of room for us. And we're in amongst all the gym palaces. And there's a beautiful yacht ahead of us here, which is a big Grand Soleil 56, 58 or something. Can't quite read it, 56. Beautiful boat, but it's got green decks. It doesn't look as though it's been used at all. Real shame. Beautiful yacht. But anyway, yep, so we're here. We're just having a Marina beer, which I think is a Lidl special, which is very pleasant, but it's 5%, so can't have too many of them. But yep. And it's cold because we ran the fridge on the way over, so it's nice and cold. So yeah, very nice. Right, well, we're hopefully going to get a couple of nights here. We'll finish the beers and then we'll head off up to the office, and certainly we got the berth for tonight, and if the residents are away for the weekend, long weekend, whatever, then there's a potential to have it for 2 nights, which would be nice. As I say, it's going to be a little bit lumpy on the river potentially, just from passing ferries and bits and pieces, but no big deal, no big deal. So yeah, that's it. So we'll check out.